Our guest today lives by two words, being confident and being focused. Becky Haughey is here to share with us the experiences that she's had as a longtime studio salon owner and also a life coach. She's here to talk about what we can do to change and shift our thoughts and our feelings into positive forward momentum, and also give us the strategies and tools that we need to navigate those moments and times when we don't feel super confident. She also shares a nugget at the end about how to set boundaries in a way that is healthy for you and also gives other people the opportunity to choose in. Welcome to Make It Happen. For today's Pick My Brain, I asked Becky, who is the guest on our show, if she had any questions, and she said, what are your top 3 tips for launching a podcast? Truthfully, I could probably do a whole episode on this as we're getting ready to celebrate 10 years of podcasting over a few different shows over the last decade. But I'll share with you 3 quick tips for getting ready to launch a podcast. Number 1, make sure that you are ready to launch with 4 episodes ready to go. I actually recommend that you have 6 to 8 recorded before you start, so that while you're in the launch period, you are not stressed about your next few episodes that are ready to go, but that you can launch with 3 or 4 episodes that are live so that you can get those downloads in those first few weeks, and that's really important. Number 2, I highly recommend that you think about your next 20 episodes. Most podcasts, in fact, I think it's 10%, only 10% of podcasts make it past the first 10 episodes. So in order for you to ensure that you're going to do this for a long time, I recommend that you sit down and have at least 20 episodes outlined. You can choose to interview people and know who you're going to want to interview. You can have some solo shows in there that you plan out and get done, but just have those 20 episodes planned so that you can get over the hump of those first 10 episodes. The last thing that I would recommend as you're preparing for a podcast is just to be so crystal clear about who your audience is. And that probably should be my number 1. But when you know who your target market is, it's a lot easier to speak to them, to share the messages and the information that they want, and they feel like they're coming home. They feel like they're listening to somebody who gets them and understands them. So while that's a quick little bit on Pick My Brain, I will share more ideas and details about how to launch an awesome podcast in a future show. But Becky, thank you for the question. So for today's episode, I have Becky Haughey sitting here with us today. I need to tell you a little bit about Becky, because Becky has cut my hair for like 15 years, a long time. She's been a salon owner for 17 years. She's been cutting hair for 25 years. And as most good women have evolutions, her experience by standing behind the chair has led her to a new path where she is a confidence coach and is trained to help individuals take where they think they are, or even what they don't see, and where they are to where they want to be. So Becky, welcome to Make It Happen.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for having me on here. It's kind of fun to sit this way because usually you're right here in front of me. So this is really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. So I've known you for lots of different evolutions of your life. I would love for you to share what have been some founding principles or ideas, or even just thoughts that run through your mind regularly that keep you focused and confident in what you do.
Okay. There's so many different things. I would probably say, number 1, you just got to show up. Doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter if it's a good day and it doesn't feel right to show up. You've just got to show up. So I would say that's number 1. Number 2, resilience. I would say just throughout my whole journey, being able to bounce back has been probably one of my power tools that I've kept there. And probably the other thing is love for myself and love for the people. Honestly, truly, just respect and love enough that I can show up, and respect and love enough for others that I can show up for them as well. So those are probably just off the top of my mind, the 3 things that maybe I would say.
I love that. Now, your experience helping, because so many people joke and laugh that when they go to get their hair done, it's like sitting in a therapist chair, and they share lots of things, and you've heard lots of stories, and you've seen the way that people have their minds work and their brains work, and have been able to help them unofficially over the years, and now in more official, I think it was official before. I'm not trying to say it wasn't, but in a different capacity. But as you have watched people, and especially women, over the last 15, 17, 25 years. What are some things that you've noticed about maybe even lies we tell ourselves or things that where we don't quite see reality the way that we should?
Okay, I heard a quote, I don't remember where it's at, a little tidbit of information that we live in 80% distortion, which is really kind of a fascinating thing. And just this past year in my journey as a life coach and just really seeing how to kind of reveal and uncover just the brain and where it's at and where it's going, that statistic has got to be so true because we tell ourselves stories every single day. And it's fascinating. And for me as a hairdresser, I empathize with my clients and they tell me stories and I'm right there with them like, oh my gosh, that happened. And so it's been a little bit of a challenge as a coach to not jump in and believe their stories. Like, yes, they're valid stories. They're valid experiences they're having. But in order for me to help show them their brain, I can't believe their story because I've got to show them where they're at and just separate out the facts and then what part is story. Did that even answer your question, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is just an interesting thought and concept because if that's true, if we're living in 80% distortion, then that can kind of be hard to listen to because I feel like everything I think is truth.
Right? I know.
Right?
I know.
That every thought that comes into my mind is 100% true and accurate, and that may or may not be the case.
And the reason why is because as soon as we have a thought, it creates an emotion. Once we feel that emotion, we believe it's true. We believe it's true. And so that's something that has been so fun to do is to be able to get in, do that thought download, figure out where they're at, separate out the facts. What are facts? These are things we can prove in the court of law per se. And all the rest is stories. And that story is what's taking you where you're going. That's the results you're getting. It's the reason why you feel the way you feel.
Well, but hang on a second, because I think that we're told and taught, and I think the world right now is really focused on your feelings are truth and what you're feeling is valid and what you're feeling is important, and you need to share what you're feeling to other people. So how do we shift that narrative into getting back into a more truthful state instead of a distorted state?
Okay, I love that question. Number one, it is your truth because that's where you're at and that's what you see and that's your reality because that's what you think it is. So the results you're getting, if they're not what you're wanting, let's shift that. Let's shift them, that thought that you're having. Like, let's see, for example, let's say, this is just totally coming out of nowhere. Let's say, so like I was coaching a friend and she had a very dear friend decide that she needed to take a step back for a little bit and just kind of work on herself. This client, she decided to take it as she doesn't want to be friends anymore. The facts are, here's a friend that they've spent a lot of time together, and she said, I need to take a step back and focus on myself right now. This friend thought that she said, I don't want to be friends anymore. And so what does that create? That creates these feelings. She shows up that way, and then she gets this result of just spinning in not understanding and creating more stories around maybe why she's not a good friend or why she's not worthy of this friendship or whatever it is. Whereas, same thing, here's this friend that just says, I need to take a step back and focus on myself. Another thought she can have is, I love and respect this friend. I'm going to give her the space. It has nothing to do with me. And that creates a different feeling. You're going to show up differently and your results are going to be different, if that makes sense. So you get to decide what your truth is and you get to decide what your beliefs are. You get to decide what your day is going to be for you. No matter the circumstance, you get to decide what your truth is.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so that's a good shift. I also feel like that gives us an opportunity to step away from any kind of victim mentality or any place where we're like, this was done to me, and shift it and say, well, what if it was actually not about you at all? Or what if that's just the way they're processing things and it takes you away into a more positive and maybe even action-oriented type place?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because we only show up in life because of our feelings. Show up or not show up. Because of our feelings. And our feelings come from our thoughts.
Right.
Not the circumstance.
Right.
Not the circumstance. And yeah, you're exactly right. If you're feeling victimized, if that thought is that I am a victim, and those are feelings you're creating, and that's how you're showing up, being aware, sure, feel that feeling for a while. Self-indulge, like give yourself 10, 20 minutes, feel it. You know, it doesn't always feel great, but learn how to process it. Okay, what results is it giving you? Let's try something different. Let's try on a new shirt, see how that feels. Let's try on a new thought. If that feels better and that creates a better feeling, you're going to show up differently. You're just going to get different results. So it's okay to like think those thoughts and be in victim mentality for a little bit. Do it, but just be aware of it and be intentional, self-indulge, and then let's move on because it's not getting you where you want to go.
Now that reminded me of a phrase that you said that you've told your kids and your clients for a long time. We talked about it a little bit before the show, but will you share that with our audience?
Yeah. So something I've told my stylists, my staff, I've told my kids, something I learned a long time ago is that what you can see, you can manage. What you can't see manages you. And it's so true in so many things. Like you look at finances, right? Yeah. If you're not paying attention and you can't see where your finances are going, then your money's managing you. But your brain, so that's something that I'm able to do is help uncover and reveal where their brain is at right now, so that they can manage it and go the way that they want to go. And it's made such a difference with my stylists in their numbers, in their marketing, in just even the way they show up for their clients. Just be aware, because what you can see, you can manage. What you can't see manages you.
Yeah, I like that. I want to talk a little bit about because this sounds like information that everybody needs, and everyone needs to have this shift in vision and understanding of where they are and be able to create some of those thoughts. But what are some of the audiences that you love helping the most? Like who are the individuals that you feel the most passionate about serving? Okay.
That's a hard one, Michelle, because I've done hair for 25 years and I've just seen this full range of people. And I love working with people. But something that I've found the most is the clients, especially the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the solopreneurs that are trying to just get through and make this business happen. Those ones have been so fun because one, they're looking for that knowledge. They want the help. And when it comes to business, like 95% of it, I'm just throwing that out there, is managing your brain and your emotions, those thoughts and feelings around it. Because if not, you get eaten alive, really. You just get swallowed up. And so that clientele has just been so fun for me. So fun for me.
Good. I want to talk a little bit about transitions because you've experienced a little bit of a transition, but I feel like everyone experiences transitions. And to a certain extent, we've all had a little bit of change, especially with the last couple of years and the pandemic. And now we're going into potential financial changes and circumstances. What advice do you have for the individual or the entrepreneur that is in the middle of transition, like shifting between one chapter in their lives and business into another?
Okay. When it comes to transition, a lot of times there's fear. And when you operate in fear, you don't have vision. You're just reacting. Everything changes. And like even right now, there's talk of this recession coming up. Recessions typically on average, again, here's just, something I was reading the other day, is about 11, 12 months, but it can be different years. And then things shift back. It's like a natural occurrence, right? Transition is a natural occurrence just in our lives. We don't have to be afraid of it. And so something that I've talked to clients about several times is having your own back. Like if you're going to have confidence, what does confidence mean? And there's two different kinds of confidence. There's the confidence where, like, say for me, I've cut hair for 25 years. Anybody that sits in my chair, I can figure out what's going to be the best for them and their hair. And that's confidence. Like I just know someone can sit in my chair, I can figure it out. Whereas self-confidence is no matter what happens, we have our own backs. Today, I'm not going to talk to myself like I have in the past any longer. I support myself with grace, with just that unconditional love for myself. First, knowing that no matter what happens, I'll be able to figure it out. Because again, it's the circumstance we don't have control over mostly. It's just what we make that circumstance means. And when you know that, you can go into any circumstance and manage your brain and thoughts and feelings just through it all. And that's what's helped me. So that's how I've been helping my clients.
I love that. When you think about, I know that you also have some unique experience and gifts with those with ADHD and maybe even potentially on the spectrum. Do you have thoughts or principles that are helpful to this audience and this group as well? Like if you had to give them 2 or 3 tips about navigating that, what would that look like?
Okay. And when you asked me about what kind of maybe demographics I love to work with, I actually love to work with people with the executive functioning. I have a client right now that has Asperger's, and it's so fun to work with her because she's very factual, and it's just kind of more black and white. And it's nice because we get the stories, but we don't have to it's not such an overwhelm of stories coming in. It's just, here's the story. So it's really, really great that way. So some of the tips I would give is a huge one, and a big reason why I decided to be a confidence coach, not only because this is kind of what a little bit of my wheelhouse for the past 25 years. Now it's nice to have better tools to even help clients. But when it comes to that, a diagnosis can be really scary. It could really kind of take you down and make you feel broken. You could lose a lot of confidence because you're different, when that's not true. Everybody has something different, right?
For sure.
Everybody has different underdevelopments in their brain. And so when it comes to confidence, or when it comes to on the spectrum or ADHD, I would go back to the confidence piece, that no matter what, give yourself grace and have your own back first, because everybody has a different story and everybody has different issues, Something else I would probably tell them is that there's certain gifts that come with that. I was talking to my son just last night, and for him, he's like, my life is so hard because I have ADHD, because I'm on the spectrum. Life is so hard. I'm like, is that true? Or is that just a thought? Is that true? And it's never an excuse, but there are gifts and things that come. And focus on those. Focus on those, because that's what's going to get you through. Because a huge gift that comes a lot with the executive functioning is there's a lot of creativity, innovativeness, and maximize that. If this seems like it's a hard path for you, this is hard because of how your brain works, let's come up with a different way. Let's adapt, let's refocus, let's get creative and come up with a different thing. And that's been really fun. That's been really fun to dig deep with that.
Well, and I think that's an important distinction for anyone, right? Because it's so easy to get on Facebook or look around the room or look at your friends and go, well, I'm different from them because, right? Or I'm not as cool as them because, right. And we just create this stack rank list of who we are and where we belong based off of being different from someone else. And while that's true, we all have differences, but it's not like any one thing is worse than another, but we tell ourselves that it is. And we use that as an excuse to not show up in confidence. We use that as an excuse to maybe even judge other people as well. But we certainly use it as an excuse to judge ourselves. And that's not helpful. Mm-hmm. So do you have any thoughts or suggestions about how to take us out of a comparison mindset and more into a confident mindset?
Yeah. So when I first meet with a coaching client, I tell them that I have 2 rules. Number 1, for me to coach from a clean space with them, there's no judgment. And for that client, the second rule is no judgment from them, or else they're not going to reveal their brain. And so they, number 1, have to learn how to stop judging their own brain. Because the number 1 thing we come up with, like when I'm talking to clients, they'll talk about relationships a lot. And a lot of times the result is they are placing their manual out there. They're judging that person, that they think that person should show up a certain way. And the first thing is they need to wrap their head around the fact that they're judging themselves, thinking that they should be showing up a certain way. And you're right, when we see social media and we're just comparing, and rewarding with dopamine. Like it's it's a disaster. So that's the number one thing I go through with them first, is that learning how to stop judging your own thoughts, because they're not even going to see where their brain is at, because they're judging it before they even put it out here to look at. So if they can learn how to do that and just get curious with, why am I thinking these thoughts? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? It's going to help them also have a little bit more grace for the people around them, and stop thinking that they need to show up a certain way. Yeah. And that's where boundaries come in. That's where boundaries come in.
So important.
We're going to let them show up how they're going to show up, because they're going to.
Yeah.
But I've got my boundaries in place, and that makes all the difference, to let people show up how they're going to show up.
I'm sure we could do a whole episode on boundaries, and we're getting ready to wrap up. But because you opened that door, I feel like I want to give the audience a little bit of something. But how is the safest way to create a boundary for yourself without being offensive?
A boundary for yourself without being offensive.
Like when you acknowledge that you're in a circumstance that someone else, and you need to set a boundary. How do you set the boundary without, I mean, you can't control whether or not they're going to be offended or not, right? You can't. But how do you set a boundary in the kindest way? Okay.
And I love that you just said that, because that's not offensive is a thought.
Yeah.
That's not truth, right?
True.
Or that's not a fact.
Right.
So if you're thinking that, then it's going to make it harder for you to set a boundary and to just be clear about your boundary.
Exactly.
So you just got to change where your mind is right now. That I'm going to honor me where I'm at, and I'm going to honor them where they're at. I'm going to let them show up how they're going to show up. And I respect them enough to let them do that. But I am just going to state my boundary. And something that's been helpful for me, because this has been a part of my journey, is setting boundaries. I wasn't taught this growing up. Is just that I see, I feel, I want. Mm-hmm. If you could remember those three things: I see, I feel, I want. That I see, like somebody that I know that really likes to talk about politics and just pushes it on anyone they're around. It's like, I see that you want to talk about this right now, but I feel you could say, like, your relationship is important. Our relationship is important. And I don't want to talk about that right now. Something as simple as that. I see, I feel, I want. Because it's respectful to them. It's communicating. It's not passive. It's not aggressive. It's not passive aggressive. It's just assertive. And you're just communicating that I see, I feel, and I want to stop this conversation right now. And you could even say, I'm going to go into the other room right now and remove myself.
Great.
And if they're offended, they're offended. But if your mind is thinking that no matter what, they're going to be offended, then you're going to show up a little bit differently in how you communicate it. So.
Yeah. I love that. Well, good. I feel like we could talk for a long time, but where can people find more about you?
Okay, so I do have a website, and I'm going to give you some of this information.
And we'll put it in the show notes. Yep. Everything is listed below.
And then there's a lot of free content on Instagram under Rebecca Haughey Coach.
We'll also link that.
On the website, I've got some freebies. And then they can even see where they can work with me if they have some goals and they want to be a little bit more serious about getting different results. Then I also have those options on my website as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here on Make It Happen.
Thanks, Michelle. This has been so fun.
Okay, welcome to a few of my favorite things. I am excited to share with you this blanket, and I cannot believe I haven't shared this one with you before. But this is the Goosebumps blanket, and it is thinner. And I like that. Sometimes you want a big, hefty blanket, especially in the winter. You like your furry minkies. You like your fuzzy fleece throws. I'm still liking this in the cold months, but this is my favorite blanket in the summer. Sometimes I feel like I just want something on top of me as well. And so Goosebumps is the brand, and it's like a t-shirt material. It's super stretchy. This particular one, I would unfold it, but it's giant. Is like taller than me. And I am about to buy my second one to take on planes that's smaller, that just folds up super nice, fits in my backpack to take on trips, but it is just super soft and comfortable like an adult swaddle blanket. I highly recommend it. Obviously, this one is after my patriotic heart, but they have lots of other styles and designs that are available at Goosebumps. I need to tell you about these shoes that I love. I fear that I've already told you about them, but we're here right now, so we're going for it. This is a Nike shoe I got at the Nike outlet in Oregon, and since have bought 3 or 4 other pairs. But this is the nurse's shoe. I don't know what it's officially called, but if you just search Nike nurse's shoe, this will come up. And it's so super comfortable. It looks a little bit weird. My family thinks they look terrible, but I like it. I like the look. I tend to have a little bit wider feet. And so I love this shoe because I feel like my feet fit in super comfortably. I don't have to wear socks, which is awesome. The bottom comes out, which you can wash so that if it gets stinky, but it's super comfortable. I love that I don't have to wear socks with it. I can slip it on and off. This is my airport shoe. When you're in Salt Lake City and you're told you're in a B gate, this is the shoe that you want. And it is super comfortable. I have TSA pre-check, so I don't have to worry about taking my shoes off and on, thank heaven. But it's just super easy to get on and off. I also hate tying shoes. So this is the favorite things where you find out I'm really, really lazy and I don't like to bend over. The last one I'm going to share with you is the cinnamon roll drizzled granola. And I'm going to put this in the it's okay department, not in my favorite things, which probably doesn't fit in this, but my son loved it and it was one of his favorite things. My friend Brianna loved it and she just bought 15 bags. Now this came out in the fall, and so I'm hoping that it's still there for you. If not, watch for it again. This is not necessarily the kind of granola that you put in a bowl and pour milk on top and then you eat it like a cereal. This is the kind of granola that you just snack on. It actually is quite tasty. Cinnamon isn't my favorite flavor, generally speaking, but I do love that each of the little nuggets has like a creamy drizzle on top. They call it yogurt. I just call it delicious. So gosh, I just opened it up and it smells really, really, really strong of cinnamon. So I like it. I don't love it, but if you are a cinnamon roll person or if you like cinnamon flavor at all, you're going to love it. So this is your favorite thing. Do you see how I did that? Okay. Welcome to a few of my favorite things. Well, today's episode was full of all kinds of exciting things, from favorite things to talking about podcasts and also how to be focused and confident in life and in business. Becky's wealth of information and experience in business has really helped me over the years, and I'm so glad that you got to experience her on Make It Happen. Thank you for giving me your time today. I am cheering you on in the ways that you want to be focused and confident in your life, and it's a through line specifically for Make It Happen, and so we're cheering you on in all that you do. Please leave a rating or review so that others may find this show if it resonates with them. We appreciate all that you do and being part of this community. Thank you for watching Make It Happen.